I didn't expect to cover this again today, but things are developing, and I'm genuinely curious to see how this is going to come to a conclusion. Because if you haven't followed my previous videos, what is about is the fact that the Biden administration didn't do a very good job at protecting the border. In fact, statistics show that more people have crossed the border illegally during the Biden administration than any other administration during the U.S. history. And I think it was the Attorney General of Texas accused the Biden administration of working hand in hand with the cartels. Like, that was an accusation that came out last week. He says that while they may not have like a document signed or anything official, it is observable that before, at least, the human smugglers were trying to hide. They were trying to at least do this covertly. But now they're just like getting the people back to the authorities, and they're doing it in the open. They have no shame, right? So that's one of the arguments that got Texas to defend its own border, right? So what's happening now is that the feds, which are the ones that are supposed to protect the border, have been replaced with the Texas troopers, and it's causing a lot of interesting division. But what I notice is that not a lot of leftists are really upset about this. Like, that's a little bit curious. Maybe because I'm mostly following Twitter, so like the leftists are upset on Reddit or on other places. But on Twitter, at least, they're not viewing this as an important issue. It's like, okay, well, Texas is defending the border, meh. Meanwhile, however, the government, the feds, are trying to, they have escalated this to the Supreme Court, and they were basically saying that they should have the right to cut down the wire that the Texas state is putting on the border. And the Supreme Court says, like, yes, you do have the right to cut the wire because at the end of the day, the federal government is the one responsible for border security. But what they did not say is the fact that Texas isn't allowed to put more wire. So you have like this comical situation where Texas can put barbed wire and the feds cut it, and then Texas puts it back again. But, you know, when you have chants in Texas, like arrest the Fed, it starts to become a little bit more interesting. You know, like if events are progressing quite fast. And the reason for this is, as I said in the previous video, that Biden right now is in a very peculiar position where he doesn't seem to have a win. Nothing that he does is going to look good. If he does nothing, then he looks weak. And if the number of immigrants that cross the border illegally lowers dramatically, which is pretty much what's going to happen, then it does look like the Fed is either incompetent or malevolent because they did not have the ability to secure the border the same way like the Texas troopers do. But if he does something, then again, it's viewed as, going against his fellow Americans. Even like if he were to have like the legal right to do so, this is happening right before an election, and people do care about the morality of the situation. So again, if he does nothing, then it means that the governor of Texas gains more support. It means that some left-leaning voters may feel disenfranchised and dissuaded, right? Because like one of the things that the American voters seem to respect more above everything else is strength. And ironically, the Democrats are the party of strength, and this is why many people respect them. But if it does do something, then it energizes the Republican voters, who are going to be like, well, hold on a little bit, this is unacceptable, and they will go to vote in greater numbers. So he's in a lose-lose position. But this actually became even worse, because up until this point, I thought that what he can do is the same thing that the European Union constantly does, right? So like when you have Hungary or when you have like Poland stepping out of line, they start with their economic sanctions, they start with their boycotts. So I thought that this is what the federal government could try to do with Texas. Like obviously, they're not going to start anything kinetic, as some edgelords on the internet like to say. But definitely, something in the economic nature, like some sort of thing that's like, oh, look, we did this just so that no one says we didn't do nothing. But the problem is now becoming that more and more governors are supporting Texas. So now you have this letter with 25 governors that are offering support for Texas, which leads me to assume that this whole situation was planned. Like they wanted to do this right before the election, and they did talk with each other and coordinated to the point where this actually does look like a serious agitation. And it's making it even more interesting to see how it's going to be resolved. So here you have the letter which says, we stand in solidarity with our fellow governor, Greg Abbott, and the state of Texas in utilizing every tool and strategy, including razor wire fences to secure the border. We do it in part because the Biden administration is refusing to enforce immigration laws on the books and is illegally allowing mass parole across America of migrants who entered our country illegally. The authors of the U.S. Constitution made it clear that in times like this, states have a right of self-defense under Article 4, Section 4, and Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the United States Constitution. Because the Biden administration has abdicated its constitutional compact duties to the states, Texas has every legal justification to protect our sovereignty of our states and our nation. The signatures include Governor Kay Ivey, Mike Dunleavy. I'm not going to pronounce all of these names because, as a European, I don't know who they are. I do recognize their home states. I assume that they're all Republicans, right? So, like, no Democrat has broken ranks. But you now have a very delicate situation, right? For the first time, Tim Pool can make a video, go like, Civil War, like his trademark stuff. I don't think it's going to come to that, obviously. But it does cause a definitely political crisis, which is, I'm not even sure you can say that it's spread based on party lines anymore. Because you have places like New York and San Francisco where you have the mayors of these places hold speeches that are more radical and extremist than even Donald Trump was in his prime. And they're like, oh, there's too many people coming, and some of them are criminals, and, like the whole shebang. And they're basically saying that the infrastructure is unable to cope anymore because they're getting overwhelmed. And this is like from their sanctuary cities coming, right? So even Democrats, well, sure, they're not going to sign such a letter, but even they are starting to say, all right, well, we have a lot of people that have come in. Like, maybe it's time we take a little bit of breather, right? Like, maybe it's time we take a little bit of a break. So now the divide isn't even across party lines. It's starting to be the same like when the Democrats were chanting defund the police. Like in the beginning, yeah, it was due to party lines. But after a while, even the Democrats went like, oh shit, like no police, the crime is getting ridiculous. Even our donors that have businesses in certain neighborhoods are starting to say that it's unsustainable. The CEO of Starbucks, which was huge on social justice and stuff, was like, oh, we can't keep our shops open like this. So, yeah, like it's slowly starting to the point where they realize maybe there is a reason why there is a border and every other nation on earth has one. So we can't just not enforce it forever. I am curious, though, like how this is going to end up because... I do not see the Democrats just budging on this. I do not see them going, it's like, oh, well, okay, But if Texas is going to be allowed to defend the border, then I'm curious if it's going to create a historical precedent because I don't see Texas ever allowing the feds back in after what happened. So it is an interesting standoff. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.